Ah, anime, the land where our most violent fantasies live in painted perfection. Most times. This particular time, we are going to quantum leap onto an island research laboratory that has a cyclotron, which has uncovered a strange quirk that allows people with weird names like Takuya Groose and Galen Hyatts to make giant laser beams. Giant laser beams that make weird crap happen, like making big biomechanical rocks fall out of the sky into the ocean. The first time this happened, Hyatts, who is Takuya's boss, forced Takuya to dive his submarine down and retrieve a sample of the weird giant biomechanical rock. This really pissed Takuya off, who got his head scratched and decided to quit and go work for the post office or something. I don't really know. Anyway, Takuya comes back after his submarine co-pilot and friend Haruka begs him to come back to the island and kill him. Or something. Before he is consumed, apparently giant space lasers are the scientific pathway to many abilities that some would consider to be unnatural. Anyway, now that Takuya's back, parts of the base come under attack by a giant, monstrous robot thing. One that even the giant space lasers can't stop. One that seems to be related to the evil force that's making Haruka be naughty. That's right, Haruka's found the devil, and the devil has found the form of the Destructor. No one ever expected this sort of thing to happen in a place where nerds ride around in modified DeLoreans. A place that's designed to look like this, a giant hexagram? Well, what did you expect? No one ever stopped while they were building the space and said, you know what, this is like 2 degrees too close to like a black metal album cover. Maybe we should reel it back in and redesign this thing. I don't know, what's next? Am I going to need like a red key to open doors around here? This is pretty ominous, folks. Anyway, Haruka's new best friend is apparently related to beings of unfathomable power. Stop me if you've heard this before. Beings that live outside of our dimension, but occasionally break on through to the other side, our side, where they kind of stand around and violate airspace rules or something. They don't do anything in this anime. It's a giant monster. They gotta do something about it, I guess. It's there. Anyway, that's happening now, so someone better do something about that, I guess. Don't look at me, you know why you're here. You want to see a giant monster battle, I get it. Anyway, seeking to Google how stop giant monster when space beam no work, Takuya Groose asks the computer for help.
Hello, computer.
But it's running Windows 11, and they're doomed. Or are they? Apparently the first biomechanical thing we saw fall into the ocean way back when has a pilot's seat. Does that mean what I think it means? Are you thinking what I'm thinking? Of course you are. Of course I am. Of course it does make sense. This is anime. 1987's Daimaju Gekito, Hagani no Oni, or Battle of the Great Demon Beast, Demon of Steel. They really had to describe that one for you so you understood. Giant monster battle. Boldly answers the question no one asked. Can you fuck up anime about giant robots? I know it seems like an impossible thing to do. How could you? And no, I don't mean like, could you pilot a mech poorly and step on a church or something? No. I mean make something with giant robots in it that is annoyingly ponderous, pointless, and most painfully and most surprisingly, boring. The answer is yes. Yes, you can. And its name in Japanese is Hagane. Maybe that's what that word means. I don't know. I'm not Japanese. Anyway, this anime doesn't have the guts, the politeness, if it were really Japanese, to tell you up front, I suck. Rather, Hagane teases you, taking the middle of the road in storytelling terms, right down those white lines, the worst place to drive. It takes that path of tedious boredom that never, ever tips into so bad it's good, nor into so anime it's the 1980s in Japan, which is usually a pretty fun place. Except for times like this. Hagane's problems are many. The characters are absolutely unlikable. There's a confusing mixture of present-day scenes and scenes set in the past, and it's a timeline that you're never going to understand unless you like to constantly press rewind, oh, I see what happened, and you pay attention to things like Band-Aids, because that's the only clues they're giving you to this being a different time period. Hagane just has a general lack of anything that makes sense, or anything that makes you care about what's going on. And you know, sometimes that's a good thing. Yeah, get totally drunk and watch stupid stuff be junk. That could be fun. That's a good way to ignore what makes our lives suck. But Hagane doesn't deliver anything over the top to make that cavalier waste of 50 minutes worthwhile. It plays everything very straight, very safe, very boring. You really won't know where you're going as you watch it, but you won't be surprised when you get there, and you won't be happy either. What's worse about all this is that as much as Hagane really needed to be at the very least okay, it's visually obvious that it was capable of being great. The biomechanical robot designs in Hagane are pretty much peak anime style. They were designed by Koichi Ohara, the guy who worked on the other visual greats in violent mecha OVAs like Cybernetics Guardian, Genocyber, and MD Guys 2. Basically the three things people always tell me, hey, have you seen this? Whenever I review a mecha anime, those three titles. He worked on those. The director of Hagane, Toshiki Hirano, helped work on Megazone 23. He helmed the Ixer 1 OVAs. Those are great mecha anime OVAs. He even directed Magic Knight Rayearth, which was pretty popular in the OOs. Yet even with mecha designs as good as anything out there, with a mecha experienced director as competent as this, once we get to the point of Hagane, the last 10 minutes, a big monster battle, well, I'm sad to say that bout is more monotonous than main event. The two beasts kind of tussle and then it's over. That's it. You'd find more suspense watching a Power Rangers episode blindfolded, I wager. And what is it with Haruka and Takuya anyway during this final battle? They just keep yelling at each other. Haruka! Takuya! I wonder, just where did this trend start? Because it's all over Japanese media in the 80s. And at one point, Takuya does that weird new type Gundam thing where his pants and shirt are just gone, and he's floating around naked in space, and you're like, what is going on? Why are you naked? Why'd you take your pants off? The last time you want to take your pants off is when there's a giant monster, I think. Because there's no way what you have packing is going to impress that monster. That's a monster, dude. It's going to be a BBM situation, if you know what I mean. Anyway, while we're comparing Hagane to other anime, especially a fellow OVA, the most obvious connection, the one that was screaming at me while I watched this over and over during the scenes of chaos, the connection I saw most obvious was Legend of the Overfiend. It's a giant biomechanical monster from hell that's causing the world to end. It's Overfiend. It screams Overfiend. I did my research, and sure enough, the screenwriter of Hagane, Sho Aikawa, also wrote the original screenplay for the Overfiend OVA trilogy. Overfiend came out in January of 1987, 11 months before Hagane premiered. Folks, we're watching Overfiend's sloppy seconds, I'm sorry to say. Catching these things makes that stupid, oh come on, sort of sense that doesn't ease the mind for catching it. Oh, I'm clever. My brain hasn't fallen apart totally. I haven't forgotten important things again like I usually do. No, it's not as good as that. It's more like it makes you hate people a little bit more for being lazy and you're able to catch it because it's so obvious. I give Hagane 2 computers that cannot analyze the impossible out of 5. The individual elements of Hagane don't suck, but together, man, do they blow. Haruka! Takuya!